Yo, Nakama, it's that time again. Welcome back to Conqueror's Haki Corner. It's your boy Vim,
Yo,
your boy Serge,
So it's where it's at right now.
and myself, Rook, and we're here once again to bring you another chapter review / discussion of One Piece chapter 990, Army of One. And if you haven't already, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like, and we'd like to give a massive shout out and thank you to everyone that's been supporting us so far. Always appreciated.
Wagwan Jax.
What's going on, Jax? We're going to give you a bit of an answer later on in this, so stay tuned. But let's get into this, guys. A lot happened.
So we've got the front cover. So finally, it's about time the ugly twins have accepted their dad. The paternity test is in the face. That's good. It says something like, hang on tight, Mama told us our father is a clingy man who never gives up no matter how many times he's kicked. So that's what made them realize that that's their dad, the fact that he wouldn't give up. I'm sure the ugly face also helped, but, So we pick up, so we're now where Sasaki was tied up by Kyoshiro by that tree, and he's there guzzling what more than likely is sake in the land of Wano, and he's giving his take, and there's just a lot of interesting things that are said here, man, where, they're discussing what's going on. He's being brought up to speed. So we're sorry, Master Sasaki, we didn't realize you were captured. He's like, yeah, I was tricked by that friend. He's going to pay for that. That's unacceptable. He's discussing what happened to the tree, and they're like, yeah, big mom. So her rampage, Oda has taken off screen, and it's carried its way up there. So what that looks like is a sword slice when she did Mighty Nation. I forgot the translation. Yeah. So that's gone all the way to the surface and cut the tree and somehow freed Sasaki.
Yeah, that's a joke, actually, because that could have decapitated him.
Yeah, man. So then we pick up to where like the minks and what looks like a number are there, and Kaido is just looking. So it's not like, it doesn't seem like Kaido is doing any fighting this chapter. But what we do see is Jack in mammoth form taking out lots of minks in Sulong form. And although I'm not rooting for him, I like to see this because it's like a reminder of how strong Jack is. Because Jack, so far in Wano, he got cut by Shuridoji, and we haven't really seen much of him. But it's nice to see that even in Sulong form, my man is holding off the minks. And he was the guy that said, bruv, we just need to hold them off. This won't last very, very long. And guys, let me know your take. So you see Kinemon is about to draw his sword. There's a nice little close-up. And then, bam! You got Inuarashi and Nekomamushi. They're just like, nah, man. This one's ours, Kinemon. So we got our first matchup. We've got Dogstorm and Cat Viper. They're about to take on Jack. Hit me, boys. What you lot saying?
I'm gonna say this, right? Jack is feeling some sort of pain. There's a what do I want to call it? He's exhausted. I'll say that. And he wasn't this exhausted when he was fighting him previously. He held it down numerous amount of times. This time around, instantaneously, he's already feeling like, okay, how long can I keep this up for?
The only caveat I'll throw into that is, as we know with most of these ancient mythical Zoans, their strongest form is their hybrid form. So I think he's trying to hold them off in his weaker form because he doesn't want to waste it like so soon in the heat of the battle. However, I do anticipate that Inuarashi and Nekomamushi once again will force him into his hybrid form. So I think that's what we're going to see next in regards to that. But yeah, I agree with you. He looks like he's sweating. It definitely looks like he's working up a sweat.
As well, do we know anything about how their defenses increase in this mode? Like, do they have stronger defenses or anything? Because that could be a reason. You're gonna say sorry in terms of
Jack or the?
Yeah, Jack. So do you reckon a reason why he transforms into this form is because his defense increases?
I don't think so.
No.
The reach, because obviously he can use his trunk. He can use the size. So and obviously again, like Serge said, there's a certain element of going in that form first, then delving into the stronger forms.
I think, okay, I don't want to like be simplistic enough to say that quote unquote it's a weaker form. I'll definitely say it's not the strongest form, but I think what we noticed, because Kaido did the same thing in the beginning of this arc, I think being in the full form of your Zoan animal or your ancient, dinosaur, whatever you got, I think it brings a certain level of moves and reach that maybe you can't perform. So for example, when you're in your hybrid form, maybe you're like, you can only fight what's in front of you, right? Like because you're smaller. But this gives him more of a trajectory. He's got a longer trunk, a bigger body.
Yeah.
So to combat, and because they've got bigger as well, it's kind of suited to kind of, in terms of surface area, to fight them. But maybe it's
our numbers. He can take out more numbers than normal.
Take got more numbers, but I think once you get to a higher level of fighting where Haki becomes relevant, maybe it's hard to wield Haki in this form. So I think that would probably be the most logical conclusion I would have so the form will have its benefits, and it's also it's like, let me conserve because we've seen throughout the theme that's kind of been adopted that Haki drains. So if you can fight in a strong form without having to use Haki, then that's probably the best form to use as long as possible. And then obviously when you get serious, there's a hybrid form where you can utilize Haki and the Devil Fruit. That would be my take on it.
And what do you reckon with this whole Kinemon about to get involved? Do you reckon Kinemon is more than what we think he is in terms of his abilities? Do you reckon he would be able to handle Jack?
You know what? I think he could. Listen, if the way I've kind of feel like I've been misled by Oda, because early on in Dressrosa, he kind of didn't really show us anything about Kinemon, really and truly. And we've now seen that most of these scabbards, they seem to be on a similar level. Like, I doubt Kinemon is going to be weaker than Kyoshiro. Like, there's no kind of valid reason as to why he would be. The only reason I can give is he's as strong as he was 2 weeks ago, which is 20 years ago, whereas Kyoshiro's had 20 years to train. But they all managed to...
Parallel we need to remember.
Yeah. And he did try... So if we remember, Ashura Doji managed to cut Jack. They all managed to cut Kaido's wound. So I think at a certain level, they all can use Haki. So I think he definitely probably can fight with Jack. Whether he's stronger, I doubt. But, So we flash over to the next scene. We go to the performance stage inside the dome. And once again, the disrespect for King to Queen is like, bruv, don't worry. I'm not going to blame you. You were worthless from the start, man. And in the meantime, Queen's kind of connecting everything. I really do like this bit on Queen because they're kind of showing that he's not just this hip hop rapping fat boy that likes to dance. He's actually quite clever. He's straight away he's figured it out. He's like, okay, so someone must have done something to Babanuki. Whether it's the Straw Hats, we remember it was Tama. She managed to control him with her cheeks and the food. And we got King, and he starts to call the Tobiroppo, and he wants to give them their task. And we see a dialogue between Drake, ex-Drake, and Hawkins. Onigashima is in chaos. You didn't join this group by choice. If you're going to betray them, now's the time. And Hawkins looks at him and is like, you're urging me to turn traitor. Don't make me laugh. And then this was one of the biggest things in this chapter when he says 1%. What does that represent? The chances of a certain man surviving until tomorrow. Now, I want to save that, guys, and we'll leave that for the last thing to talk about. So remember that 1%. 1% sucks to be him. Is that you, King? So King's calling them. He's letting them know. He's like, the situation's changed. He's letting them know 5,000 intruders have come in. So you can see he's talking to Sasaki, who's who, Black Maria, and our internal power struggle is on hold. Forget about Master Yamato. You won't be able to challenge the elite performers. You see OT's just, like, why are you serious? Oh, Pepe. And she said how she wanted him to give her a piggyback and stuff. She's like, Kaido's up on the roof, King says. The enemies are sending the cars up to get here. You must use whatever you can to stop them. So I kind of get like an image of there's going to be levels and tiers to get to the top, and we're going to have different people to fight on each level. That seems like the most kind of logical way that Oda's kind of setting this up. So different people are going to run into different trouble, man. It's like that who do the kid pirates get to fight? Who does Law get to fight? Or who does Straw Hats get to fight? There's going to be a lot of fighting, man. So I think things are going to start to get matched up. And then we got, what's it called? Now, this was very key. The wording is very specific. So we got who's who. He goes, now's the chance for everything's chaotic. Come with me. It's a bit too much for me alone. Where are you going, Drake says. To kill the man I want to kill. We're going to Queen. So we're led to believe that, he was talking about Queen before, but he doesn't say we're going to kill Queen. He says we're going to Queen. And he's like, Drake says, don't get me involved in your squabble. And then you see Hawkins is still focusing on the cards. Now, what he's looking at, I'm not sure. Could it still be about the 1% or something else? Crazy. Go back to the performance floor. So, guys, we see all-out warfare. We see numbers going crazy. And I had a question to you guys. So, this number's going crazy. You got the dialogue where, I don't know who says it, but they're like, remember back in the day when we were fighting at Thriller Bark, when it was like time to fight Oz, it took all of us to beat him. But things are different now. I get the impression that is Luffy talking, but I could be wrong.
I think that is Luffy.
Okay. Now, this was very, very, very cool, man. Like, it can go over your head. So if you look at Hyogoro, he looks at Luffy and he says, there it is again. Why? He looks just like a guardian deity. And I believe this pertains to some part of Shinto religion. So I think this could be kind of foreshadowing to Gear 5th. So the form that he will resemble is of this deity. That's what I'm calling whatever it may be, whatever he'll get. So he goes to fight the number. And what do you guys say, man? There's also a scene, Zoro this was my question. So you got Luffy, and then Zoro clashes and cuts the club. He cuts it off. And then you got Jinbei palming it away. How do you guys feel about Jinbei replacing Sanji in the pecking order? So you got Zoro as the first commander and Jinbei as the second.
I'll tell you right now, do not underestimate how strong Jinbei is. No matter in the war, he held a direct shot from Akainu.
I agree. I'm not talking about the strength. I'm talking about position.
Oh, positioning?
Like, there's a new monster trio.
Okay.
They've been bugging Sanji for the longest. And is it because he was making room for Jinbei to take that position?
I think as you guys said before, maybe Monster Trio did get pushed out the window quite a while ago, and I think it's just made room for the commanders in terms of first, second, third, and I do actually believe that, if anything, Jinbei is the second commander.
I would agree with that. I think, and it makes sense. I think Zoro would only be the first commander just because I think of how strong he is and who he is as the first mate. But in terms of like experience and strength as well, you can't go ahead of Jinbei, man. And I think also personality-wise, Sanji's too woman-focused. Like, he doesn't have that level of he has it in moments, but not consistently, that seriousness.
What Oda's done, and this is it's a difficult character development for Sanji, but he's done it on purpose. He deprived him for 2 years. Now, he's been in the New World for about a month or so. Again, OP time, a bit mad, and he doesn't know how to control his situations. Like how we did before pre-time skip, he was on and off. But now it's uncontrollable because of his deprivation for 2 years. But that being said, Jinbei is the perfect segue. And again, like reiterating what you boys said, is strength and knowledge.
To be fair then though, you might have to remind me, but in terms of like first, second, and third commanders, Sanji kind of does have the personality of what. So just say for example, Kaido's crew, you've got King, who's more on the serious side, kind of could remind you of a Zoro. Queen, which is who's more on the jokey side. So Sanji could fit in there if we're going by personalities.
Yeah, he definitely could fit in there, man. I don't know. Like for me, it's just I can't argue against the value of Jinbei as much as I love Zoro. Like I think I'll put Zoro above in strength, possibly, But in terms of just all-round purpose, like Jinbei was a Shishibukai. He ran his own pirate crew. He served under the Whitebeard pirates. He served under the Big Mom pirates. This guy knows too much, and he always seems to. And yeah, like I mean, measuring his strength, man. Remember, for a long time he was stronger than Luffy. So it's like it's only recently we say that Luffy's kind of overtaken a person of Jinbei's level. Like Jinbei was able to hold his own against admirals. Like I'm not saying he could have beaten them, but he could take hits. And respect to Jinbei, man.
Not a doubt.
100%.
So we jumped, man, and this was like the epic twist Oda gave us this week. Loved it. So I'm not sure who's saying it, whether that is X Drake, or is that Queen talking to him. But hey, what's the meaning of this? That's what I'd like to know, Drake. Okay, why don't you ask yourself? Back in the Flower Capital, you let Trafalgar Law escape, didn't you? We had someone watching, and then you have Hawkins saying, I figured it couldn't be anyone but you, but what is your purpose? Aha, now I know who you wanted to kill. So Drake, you let the cat out of the bag. It was you, trash. And then obviously, who's like, it's an embarrassment that this guy was ever among our ranks. So they're asking, what are you up to? Drake lets him know, like, bruv, you can do what you want. I'm not going to talk. I ain't that kind of guy. And Queen starts laughing like, right, when I start torturing you, you'll be quick to speak. And then Drake, as you can see him saying that, he seems to be transforming into his hybrid form. And there's a big explosion. And he seems to go through the ceiling. He draws both of what his swords or blades are. And he's thinking to himself, what should I do? Where do I run? He can't go to the Navy till later. And then he's got, what's it called? Now, this was funny. Now, this is a nice little detail, yeah? So one of the numbers is called Juki, and Ju is for the number 10, yeah? And the other one is, I forgot what the name it was, but I remember doing my research, and it was like, it had the God number in it, so 5. Now, remember Gomu Gomu, Luffy, the number 5, Juki, X, number 10, Roman numeral 10, and that's exactly the 2 numbers that they both take out. So Luffy takes out the number 5 number, Drake takes out the number 10. Drake reminisces to what Kobe said, so nice to see Drake's move as well. Excalibur, Hongon. They both take out a number, and he says to himself, if there's any hope left, remembers what Kobe told him, trust me, Luffy's amazing. That's Drake from the Tobiroppo. But why did he attack the giant? Straw Hat Luffy, for reasons I cannot say now. I am an army of one. Please let me fight on your side. And like Luffy's like, what? Like, when does So obviously Drake's now, so they're one of the Tobiroppo are out. So I could see Drake fighting one of the Tobiroppo for them. Probably Who's Who, because they obviously had this whole thing of the way Who's been talking. That would be nice to see. Drake is clearly strong as hell. You know, like way you rank him out of Supernova, he was definitely one of the strongest ones. But aside from that twist, guys, and we ain't got a chapter next week, so this is a lot to talk. 1%. Someone has a 1% chance to survive. Who you got?
Luffy.
You think it's Luffy, right?
Hawkins, I'm not going to say he has an obsession, but he tends to do that with Luffy for some reason. He did Marineford when he was, I knew he would survive. And he does it every so often with Luffy. So it's something that he tries to follow.
His quote was in Marineford, no matter how many times I run it, his chances of surviving never go to 0. That's what he said.
Isn't that the same thing he did earlier in Wano as well?
When he confronted Luffy and Zoro, he said their chances of surviving together was 18% in 10 days. So they had the chances that you two will still be alive in 10 days' time, which is not yet, was 18%. So I don't really like looking into that one because that was like a combined percentage. But the 3 people, so I'm with you. I'm going to say I think it's Luffy because Luffy's the main problem. Luffy, he has had this obsession with Luffy. And I think it could be this thing where that's when Hawkins turns back to the alliances. I don't think he's going to be loyal to the Beast Pirates. I think his whole thing with Hawkins is he goes where his greatest chance of survival is, right? So the whole reason why he joined Kaido was when he did the cards, he was like, well, my chances of surviving are greater if I go with Kaido. Now, if Luffy's the one that's at 1%, but that 1% always comes true for Luffy, that could be the reason why he turns. The only other two people I had on my list that I think that would have any kind of focus that he's had a direct problem with is X Drake now and Trafalgar Law. And that's it.
Okay. I disagree with you one point before you come in, Brooklyn, yeah?
Mm.
I don't think he's going to join the alliance. I think Hawkins will fight with the mindset of this 1%. Oh, you can't survive this much times. I'm definitely coming for your head. Not directly at Luffy, but he's going to try and fight with Kaido.
Yeah. I reckon that in how it's written there, I reckon that 1% that he's doing there, and this will go to what he was doing after, the 1% is referring to X Drake. Because the way it's written is because he says, must suck to be that guy. And he most probably doesn't even know he's talking about himself.
I think that's a good possibility.
And then when he's checking at the end, I think he's looking for Luffy. And
so
maybe
yeah,
do a
that's the
combined.
one thing I know in this chapter is that there's two different people that he's looking at. I don't think the whole time he was looking at one guy. So, and I think it would be possible, like in terms of plot purpose, the fact that Drake is a part of Sword, him dying doesn't make sense to me because I see him needing to rejoin Sword at some point to kind of further the cause of that. So, and remember, like 1% doesn't mean that the person who the 1% for is gonna die. That 1% can come true. So if it's Luffy, we know it ain't gonna be him. Or is Luffy? It could be the whole thing of the 1% is about to come true, but Law performs that immortality surgery to save his life. So that's where Law ties this.
You know what? I'll give you this, Surgeon. 1% will come true, and I'll tell you why. Luffy versus CP9. Rob Lucci. He got his ass kicked. But he was at 1%. Thing about the 1% is gonna come to fruition. He's gonna be at the point where it's like he's done it all. He's done it. He can't even get up. He can't even move.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Go on, Brooklyn, sir.
No, this can come after what you're saying actually.
Nah, because what my thing is this here is like for him to survive here, it's not a question of will, but how. So this is what I'm saying. That's where Law can tie in. Because for me, the moment they told us that the power of the Opi no Mi is to give immortality or to save a life, right? We know at some point Law has to do that. That's the sole purpose of that devil fruit. It's just whether his sacrifice is now or later in the story. And, you know, like having a big war like this, you know, the last war, a big D died. This could be a big D again, dying again. And it's not, you wouldn't be against it because, like, as much as, like, listen, I want Lord to live happily ever after. I'm sure everyone does. Yeah. But it's like, he's fulfilled his purpose. You understand? Yeah. Like, he avenged Corazon, he destroyed the Smile Factory, and he's furthering the will of D. And, you know, Luffy's getting stronger anyway. And it'll be and I think, you know, Luffy has to experience some kind of loss. Now, I don't think his loss will ever be any of his direct Nakama anytime soon. So it has to be someone who has kind of formed that level of closeness with him. And, you know, right now they're almost like cousins or brothers, like the way they've been rolling together the last few years since Punk Hazard. And even before. I mean, Law's always been there for Luffy. He came to save him from the war, to take him. You know, like Law's always played an important part. And I think that was always because of the will of D. Like, Law has that side of his agenda as well. And his last thing is to preserve the will of D through Luffy. So that could be where, okay, yeah, Luffy's about to die, but that last 1% is Law to save him. So I could see that happening definitely, man.
In terms of, like, I know it was more of a thing of we didn't really see it happen, but a while back I said Kobe might turn up. You reckon that's a possibility now?
Not in Wano.
Me
personally, the whole point, the reason, and the reason why I say this is, like, okay, so remember, he's a Luffy fan, right? And he's not strong enough to fight against commanders and stuff yet. That's my perception of him. He's clearly very strong. He's improved. He can use Haki, but I don't think the Marines send someone like him. Now, the person I think the Marines send is someone who wasn't busy. So it's not going to be Fujitora because he went to retrieve Boa Hancock with Kobe. And also Kobe went to retrieve Boa Hancock. So I don't think he will be coming as well. The 2 Marines, I think the maximum we'll get is 2 admirals, maybe just 1, but possibly 2. And I see them being Kizaru, because he wasn't busy. Ryokugu, Greenball, because we haven't met him yet. This will be the perfect time to meet him. And the only admiral that I could see coming that will be offer any kind of aid to Luffy is Garp. That's because he has the whole relation to the Rocks Pirates. The fact that Big Mom and Dad are there, I can see why him and some of the old bogies want to go there and test. And then I could see a scene where he has to fight for Luffy against one of the Yonko, just for a bit or something, just to hold his own to prove a point. But I don't see Kobe coming. So for me, my only 3 people, 3 like big shot admirals that I can see coming and vice admirals, whatever, is Kizaru, Ryokugu, and Garp. That's it. I don't know how you guys feel.
I think fair play. I reckon Garp's kind of sad, but I reckon Garp's got to go soon, man. This might be the time for Garp to go.
That could be a big death. I would hate that. But
it's a D.
And it could be like, he shows Luffy the level that, because obviously he's his grandson, he could show the level he has within that he needs to get to by performing very well. And then he could get tag teamed by Big Mom and Kaido and they just take him out. Do you understand? So that's possible. I don't know if that will happen. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Another point in the story where I could definitely see Garp dying is in the Great War against the Gorosei and the world government. Because I definitely don't see him allowing what happened to Ace to happen to Luffy. He's learned his lesson from that time. But I think what would be cool is the moment Garp goes is when Dragon comes in.
Yeah.
That's when his point of being a dad is more important. But all for good reason. Oda kills people when he has to. And when he does, it's usually a big, big reason. So my main candidate for death this arc is Trafalgar Law. But hopefully not.
If I'm gonna throw a candidate out there, mine's Drake. I feel like Drake will go, but it's just a guess.
Well, put it this way: if Drake runs into Kaido after being a traitor, then I could see him going. Unless it's by Kaido's hand, I don't see anyone else killing him. Because also I can see a scene where you feel like Oda can mislead us and Drake's about to die, but that's when the admirals come. Do you understand? And they just bitch slap one of those Tobiroppo.
We had a pretty good question from Jax as well. Let's see what you lot think about it. He said, would it be weird if Kaido turned out to be experimented on by the world government?
Do you know what? Because we don't really know the root of where he's from. Now, obviously, I anticipate that's going to be cleared up at some point during this arc when it comes closer to the time where they're going to have the grand battle against him. Much like they did the backstory on Big Mom, I think we're going to get a backstory on all the emperors when it's their time. So I think what I will say is I think we'll get that answer. But the whole thing about Kaido being a thing, that's where I believe, yes, it definitely could be a creation. But the only twist is as well, though, is who did he have a baby with to have a daughter that is predominantly human looking, just with horns? So, One Piece has always been about the single fathers. Blah, blah.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
What are you saying, Vim?
It's an interesting theory. And I echo what you say. So we don't know his true origins, and we don't know what species he is. If he's a cultivated one, if he's an original, and we don't even know how many species there are in the One Piece world that we haven't actually really discovered. So
it's kind of like King. King is obviously some special species.
And there you go. And that's we're being introduced to these species. new every new moment that he takes. So they're not exactly.
Also, to add to what supports, I think, your theory, Jax, is if we go with the understanding that Yonko are privy to learning the ways of the world, like people get to know, like if anyone knows anything, it's the Yonko, or at least the government. And everyone seems to refer to Kaido as a thing, kind of alluding to they have no clue what he is. So that's where I think that possibility is definitely a live one, 100%.
But guys, let us know what you think. There's a lot to talk about in this. Let us know in the comment section down below. Jax, holler at us. Let us know what you think about it. If you haven't already, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit a like. And don't forget to share the video. The more you share, the more we grow. And remember, there's no chapter next week. So we'll catch you in 2 weeks for One Piece. But until then, it's a peace out.